Well, you know, on this channel, our people travel. We've got Larry over there someplace in Europe. We've got now today, where Nicholas, where are you headed? You're headed to Atlanta or someplace. Where are you going?
Just a quick trip to Atlanta. Yep.
Just a quick trip to Atlanta. Nothing quite as glamorous as being in the south of Spain or Amsterdam or those places where Larry is headed off to, huh?
Well, actually, funny enough, I saw Larry posted that he was in Alicante, Spain. If you remember, around Christmas time, that's where we recorded from. So,
That's okay. There you go. So good deal. Well, okay. Listen, I know you have limited time because at some point, the people that are announcing on the speakers right now, they will be announcing your flight. So let's jump right into it. Let's start with the hottest topic, I think, right now, at least the most urgent, immediate topic. That's the vote, the famous vote coming up on June 13th. Do you have any new insights, thoughts, ideas about the upcoming vote in terms of what's going to happen and what will happen then?
yeah, funny you say that, because I did have a new thought today. But before we go into that, just let me say this out loud now. Apologies for the sound, the background, but go vote, don't hope. Make sure you vote. It's important. And then two, go and double check your vote. You can change it up until the 12th. So if you need to change it, change it. Just, I'm not saying one way or the other. Obviously, you know where we want you to vote towards, but just know that you have that ability. But with that said, yeah, with the recent perk, I guess, of doing a tour in Texas with Franz and the team, I'm starting to think that that they're really pushing to get more people to vote, not because they're worried about Elon's part of it, the package, just because they're worried that they don't have enough for a quorum for the vote to move to Texas.
Right.
And so I'm actually I was actually getting kind of bullish on this. I know everybody really cares about the move to Texas. I more so care more about the pay package, making sure that's good. Like the Texas thing's like, yeah, cool. Like I want it to happen and we're wrong because if they want it, I want it. Yeah, they know better than I do, and I trust in that. But as long as the package is good, that's all I care about. But it definitely seems like everything they're doing is just to get more volume, more people to vote. So I don't know. Maybe I read that different or wrong, but yeah, that made me pretty confident, to be frank.
Okay. All right. So high degree of confidence, the vote's going to go our way. My understanding is that even if it goes our way, we're going to have to still go back to that judge and get that approved. Is that the way you get it?
Yeah. So the judge's ruling is that they have to go back and figure out how. The judge's ruling was a non-ruling. It was, I don't know how to deal with this. All I know is being revoked without a solution, right? So they put it back onto both parties to go figure it out. And then Tesla went through the process for an appeal, right? So they're going to appeal it, or they're already applied for an appeal. I'm not exactly sure where that stands, but this vote is not consequential to any of that's happened. This vote is very clearly just to signal, hey, look, everyone knows what's up.
Right.
It's beyond clear by now. There should be no question mark on it. We passed again. Hopefully we passed with even more than we did last time. I think that's the more ideal situation. And we're going to use that as evidence to the fact that this should be thrown out. This should be repealed and all that. I do think, though, there is kind of a question mark in the fact that I haven't really heard people talk about. It's like, okay, so yeah, if I was the other side, right? If I was the defense side, or not the defense side, Elon's defense, the prosecuting side, I would say, yeah, great. You did a vote based on people who had shares in 2024. Right. We are prosecuting against 2018 shareholders, and a lot of people aren't there anymore. So this vote is not the same people. So it doesn't even count.
Yeah.
And I kind of think that's going to be an issue. So, but this is just to have another piece of asset to put in front of the courts, for the appeal process and see what happens. But yeah, this definitely doesn't mean
It
it's
doesn't,
over.
it doesn't mean it's over. Yeah. Okay. All right. So next in line for me would be the numbers. So, a lot of people are paying a little less attention to the numbers these days, but we still need to look at them. And we had good numbers today out of China. And then we have some, I wouldn't call them perfect, I wouldn't call them solid numbers yet, but I've had a couple of things coming, suggesting the Model 3 out of California is the production numbers are up, and also that the Cybertruck numbers might be nicely up. Have you heard anything more that would confirm those numbers? Or what do you think about how we're looking at near the end of May going into June?
Yeah, I have no ground truth. I imagine you probably have better ground truth on that with different, resources, or, I'm sure Brian has lots of people, and I'm sure you two talk behind closed doors and know more than I do. But in watch me stretch this one. You said numbers. I do have a very close source that has 12.4. And speaking of numbers, and it's next level, is what they're saying. They're saying they have yet to do a single input, and they're probably at about 100 miles driving. So
Now,
early testing, but nothing yet.
so I was going to bring that up in a couple of minutes.
Yeah, sorry.
Are you the are you Hans's secondary source for his primary? No, he said it was once removed, but is that the same example?
Okay, so him and I, we both know about that one
Yes.
together.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
This is a separate source.
Okay, another one. All right.
Yes.
Okay, so
This
that
is
makes
this is a different source completely.
okay. If we count the video that was also shown on on the, I was always blowing his name. I don't know why. On let me I feel so foolish when this happens, but it just happens to me all the time. Um, on the Herbert show today, he had a video, and then Hans had a second local person, and then this would be a third. Then you think?
Yeah, I don't know who was in the video.
Okay,
It wasn't the individual I know.
okay.
It possibly could have been the person that Hans and I are both referencing for the other source.
Oh, okay.
But I don't know. I don't know who it is in the video. Because I don't think that's from an actual YouTube account. I think that was like I don't know.
Yeah, no, it was definitely uh, designed to not be able to be told who it was.
Yeah.
It was they went to a lot of trouble to make sure nobody knew who was actually showing that video. But that was a 30-minute video. Yeah, or even longer, I think, around 30 minutes. So okay, so we have maybe 2 to 3 sources now showing 0 interventions, 0 even taps, 0 nags. So
Well, and on that note, I got my geez, they are apparently making announcements like crazy today at
it's
the
all fine.
airport.
It's all fine.
I got my Tesla back today
Oh, you
from
did?
the collision center. Yep. Everything good. Great job. Tesla collision Tampa. Fantastic job. But it means I was able to try 12.3.6 for the first time
Oh,
because they
nice.
rolled out while I didn't have it. And through lots of construction, through highway, through city streets, from Tampa all the way to St. Petersburg. No interventions, not even accelerator press, nothing. It was flawless.
Really? Okay,
Yeah.
so my question to you with regard to all of what we've heard about 12.4, what you just experienced with 12.3.6, if in fact we continue to hear that kind of level of no interventions or 5 times fewer, 10 times fewer, as Elon said it would be, we also have the parking thing is supposed to be a lot better. Is this the Chat GPT moment, or do we still need more?
Yeah, I don't think this the GPT moment. I think we need more in the problem is the GPT moment was able to happen because there's such a low barrier to entry to be able to try it out and use it. So all you need to do was have an internet connection and a browser. So
Right.
anyone with a phone, anyone with a computer, right? So that allowed volume and to spread like wildfire. With Tesla, it's a little different. You have to have the car, then you have to have the subscription, and then you have to have the whatever latest update. So it's way harder. I don't think we'll have a moment like that until either something really interesting happens that goes viral from a video perspective, or they actually have a fleet out there doing drives and that just, people again, easy barrier to entry, right?
Right.
And it's going to happen. I'm more convinced than ever. My Uber drive here, I actually posted about this on X. Coming here, my Uber went the wrong way down a one-way street. I mean, so clearly not Uber ready, right?
Right.
It's comical. I mean, like, it was a mistake, honest mistake. She didn't know the area. I get it. She quickly fixed it. It was all good. No big deal. That's life, right?
Right.
But that's the point, right? Even humans who this is what they're doing for a living, who they care about their score and all that, still screw up.
Yep, absolutely true. I can agree with that. I used a ton of Uber on my trip. And while it was very fine, I had no real problems, over that time. It was still, I'm sitting there sometimes with my heart in my throat, especially in New York City, as they try to manipulate around double and triple parking and people that are making crazy moves and road barriers and signs that are just impossible to read. So yeah, it's hopefully okay. So not the Chat GPT moment yet. I've been saying all along that Elon needs to do that promised trip. That would be the kind of PR thing that Elon would do, coast to coast with no interventions or something of that nature, sleeping in the back seat, or he needs to come out and say Tesla takes all liability when the car is engaged. Those would be the kinds of things that theoretically would be PR breakthroughs that might really get people excited. That's my theory. Have I lost you? Oh, no, there you go.
No, yeah, I do think that's a good one from a PR perspective. I also think like I'm actually really much in the Herbert camp where he talked about just having banish or summon, just to be able to like go in a supermarket, just get out at the front door, let the car take you. I'm going to the gym. Let me just get out front door. Hey, go park yourself. Like that alone, the utility of that alone would be, I mean, that to me could become like a viral thing. It's like, oh, you're gonna go park? Why are you going to park? That's you peasant.
Yeah, right. I did a video earlier today with Brian, which I think is about the best, Brian Wang, at Brian, which I think is probably the best video he and I have ever done, and yet nobody's paying any attention to it. I've promoted it and I've gone crazy about it. I'll put a card here at the end to go see it. And what we were talking about was this explosion. Okay, let's call it the race to get to AI or AGI by the Magnificent Seven plus a couple of others. And talking about what it's going to take, about the kind of compute it's going to take, the kind of inference it's going to take, the kind of data storage, the kind of data, the kind of manipulation of the data, all the kinds of things that go into that. It's something I brought Brian Wang on the show because I don't know. It's not my area of expertise at all. So let's see. Nvidia had a 75-point climb today. Tesla was down a tad. And Elon Musk raised $6 billion for X.AI, which a lot of that will go to Nvidia. All of this seems to be all about this crazy race but maybe it's the most important race in certainly in my lifetime, maybe in 100 years in terms of technology. Whoever wins this race is going to win a lot. What do you say?
Yes, that's a very broad topic,
Yeah,
right?
I know.
So let's scale back a little bit or start from the top. So let's think about the Magnificent Seven. Um, I don't think it's going to be Apple, mainly because you're kind of already seeing. Well, one, you just see how slow they move in general. But two, you're starting to see them go and try to make licensing deals with Google or potentially OpenAI. So to me, when you're doing that, you're kind of giving up. Uh, so there's that. So I don't think they're going to be one. Google, Google's complicated because while DeepMind is very interesting, they've done some great things, and obviously they do have a lot of compute internally, and they have their own processors that they, their TPUs that they create or design themselves. They haven't they haven't really been they don't have a good ROI, if you will, right?
Mhm.
So they spend a lot, they have a lot of big initiatives, think big ideas, all this stuff, but very few pan out or become meaningful. So I see them more as just like a research, company. Okay, so that's Apple. We talked about Google, Meta. They're doing real stuff. They're doing real stuff right now, and they have a trove of unique proprietary data with Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, right? WhatsApp is big, and you better believe they're mining all of that one way or another. So that's important, proprietary data. So they're going to be in there, and they have lots of money to spend. All right, so that's three of the seven. Um, Microsoft. Microsoft is I'm biased. Okay, so keep in mind I'm at AWS, right? So Microsoft is obviously one of the enemies, right, if you will, but not really. Uh, the problem I see with Microsoft is that what's Microsoft doing? Besides white labeling OpenAI, what's Microsoft doing? And OpenAI has had the worst, I don't know, 3 months that I've ever seen a company have. They've gone from the darling to the what the hell is happening in there? And so I don't see Microsoft doing much, but hey, they've got money, they've got a CEO who's making moves, and OpenAI is still OpenAI. So let's see if they can get the ship back on track to the right course. But they've lost a lot of people, which let's that takes us to Amazon.
Right.
Again, I'm biased, but AWS, Amazon, they have a lot of proprietary data that Microsoft doesn't have. Google has proprietary data, Meta has proprietary data, Amazon has proprietary data, all right, with Amazon.com, with Alexa, with everything they're doing with AWS. So there's a lot there. They also design their own chips. They also have great partnership with Nvidia. They also have their own products internally called Q and Bedrock. So Amazon's doing a lot there, but they also have a very deep relationship with Anthropic, which, if you're not familiar with, Anthropic is kind of the antithesis to OpenAI. And Jean, I'm not even going to try to say his last name, from, it was him and Ilya that were pretty much left OpenAI last week. Well, Jean has gone ahead and said today he announced that he's going to Anthropic.
Oh, I see.
So that was that was groundbreaking for the world of AI. So, from an Amazon perspective, that doesn't hurt. Then you've got Nvidia. Controversial opinion. I don't think Nvidia is an AI company. I think they're a hardware company. I think they're a great design company. They, Brad Ferguson, and I were chatting, and he was saying that they use AI to design their chips and for the software. And all that. Yeah, great.
Uh-huh.
Lots of companies use AI internally for tooling and whatnot. That doesn't mean, in my opinion, doesn't mean you're an AI company. Maybe you could think of Nvidia as a periphery AI company, right? Because they're delivering the things needed for AI. Okay, I get that, but I fundamentally don't see them as an AI company. Now, could that pivot with some of the little software bets that they're trying to create internally? Yes. Could that pivot by them trying to stop selling GPUs and instead host it and create their own service and evolve CUDA and all. Yeah, like there's definitely a roadmap there. But I'm just saying today, they're not a company that I think is AI or delivering anything AI related. Which leads us to the last one, Tesla.
And
Again,
and in combination with X.AI.
well, exactly. Tesla isn't Tesla. Tesla is Elon Musk.
Yes.
And when you think Elon Musk, you have proprietary data. Well, you better damn well believe it because you have everything on X, formerly Twitter. That's a lot, right? I mean, you can already tell if I use Grok, first version of Grok for any news, anything going on in the world, it's more updated than ChatGPT, than Llama, than Opus, Haiku, anyone. It is up to date, real time. Okay, that's a big deal. So Elon has that. Elon also has the fleet of Tesla vehicles, which again has proprietary data with all of the cameras. And that's a lot of video. And it's not just the video, but it's what you can learn from the video, what you can learn how to do. You can train models to do certain things. And then you also have the humanoid, which sure, maybe not a lot of data yet, but there could be more to that. And then to your point, XAI will eventually move into other realms and do other things. So that to me is real AI because if for no other reason, Tesla is the only company in the world that is shipping a AI product that you can buy today that can replace a human. No other company is shipping an AI product that you pay for that can replace a human. Can it replace a task here and there? Sure. Does not replace a job for a human. Only one company in the world is doing that, and that's Tesla. So long rant there, but for the Mag 7, there's a lot of smoke and mirrors. There's a lot of tinkering and R&D. I stand by my statements from the last I don't know how many months that there's one real AI company out there.
Okay, so this would then confirm what I was going to ask you anyway, which is you are then in 100% agreement with those who say the only real AGI or the winners of AGI are really going to be the ones that have embodied AGI, not those where your opportunity is just to get something off of a computer screen.
Well, that becomes a little subjective on your definition of AGI, and that's the problem. I feel like the definition the aperture's opened up on what AGI means. I would say that the way I view AGI, to not put so many words behind it, would be something like what we see in iRobot in the movie. That to me is AGI. And if that's what your definition of AGI is as well, then you and I are in alignment, no pun intended. But yes, you and I are in alignment with that. But many people see AGI just as, will the massive compute in the world have enough power and ability to surpass human compute, right?
Right.
And that's a whole different way of looking at it. It's not an unfair way of looking at it, I guess I would say. But I don't think that's when people talk about AGI 3 years ago, that's not what they were talking about. They were talking about iRobot.
Right. And again, the question I was asking is in terms of income, in terms of making money off of AGI, it seems that there's a few, I would say most of the people that I'm listening to, including the Brett Adcocks and everybody else, are saying the embodied versions are where the money is going to be.
More than likely down the road, but I don't think 5 years per se. Like I think in the next 5 years, the biggest revenue generate. I mean, okay, well, I guess it depends. It is a robotaxi AGI or not?
Or a bot, a humanoid, Optimus.
Well, no, I'm talking about just.
Oh,
Well, I don't think Optimus will be the big revenue generator in the next 5 years. I think that will be robotaxi. I think
wow.
I think Optimus will be scaling up in that time.
Wow, we're on different levels, boy. There's what we need a whole program on that one. I just as a manufacturer, it seems to me that Optimus, once it's ready to go, once it's usable, and Elon says that'll be next year, and a bunch of other companies are already selling some form of a humanoid robot. Once Elon has a robot that is marketable, scaling it will be simple.
No, I agree ish. I
Ish.
don't, well, because there'll have to be some training that still has to get done, right? It's like even a human. If I drop a human into a random factory, I got to teach them stuff like, hey, this is where this go. Hey, this is how we do this. Hey, I know this car factory, that's car factory, but this is our process on this factory. So there is that, and that can slow down the thought of how things scale. And I'll take some time to learn how do we do this in a faster way. Just like I think right now, FSD team, they're learning how do we take new vehicles with different camera placements and quickly take what we currently have and fit it for that. How much training set data do we need, right? So there's a learning curve is my point. I also think it's going to take a little bit of time for companies to adopt. I think there'll be like I don't know, a pilot test for like a year or two. The problem, like you and I are thinking like, yeah, this is no brainer. Unfortunately, even I would say manufacturing companies move they think they're fast, but they move at such a slow pace. And I don't think that they will adopt that quickly. So I say it's at least another 2 years until, optimistically when Optimus is ready. And then it'll probably take another year for it to, start going out to X amount of clients for beta testing, call that 3 years, and then 2 years to start scaling, getting out to clients.
I hope you're right, because the only reason I want one is to give me back massages. And if the industry doesn't take them up fast enough, then there'll be excess capacity, and they'll be able to sell them to me. So and you
Yeah.
as toys. So that'd be okay with me. I personally think, based on my experience with industry, and I've worked with 400 clients over the last 16 years, plus all the people that I worked with before that in the bicycle industry. I think industrialists are very fast to change on something like that, where you're going to replace a human, because boy, as much as many manufacturers may or may not have cared or loved their humans in prior years, more manufacturers and other people who have to hire humans today are not happy to have to hire humans. It has nothing to do with the people. It has everything to do with the government stuff that's around those people. So I think there's a much higher, what do you want to call it, a demand or anxiety or interest in somehow reducing the employee count. But we'll see. Good
Yeah.
discussion.
I would also say, sorry, I would also say,
Sure.
just to be a little more truthful and less polite as you are, I would say a lot of it is the humans. Frankly, most human workers suck. It's just the truth. If you look at any company, your top performers tend to be the square root of your employees.
Oh yeah.
So if the square root of your employees, and you can look this up, this actual rules, the square root rule is, so if the square root, if you have 100 employees and 10 are the real ones that are doing all the work and bringing all the revenue and doing everything, it's like, okay, well then that's horrible efficiency.
Yes.
So imagine what happens if you had ultimate efficiency, or if you could take the rest of those 90, replace it with like an Optimus, and then you keep those 10 that are highly productive,
Yep. And again, the big question is, if I don't do it and my competitor does, I'm toast. I
Well,
mean,
yeah,
it's just like it's all she wrote. And in terms of onshoring, if we really want to onshore, that's one of the fastest ways to get it done, is to have robots instead of having to worry about cheap labor in China or Mexico or anywhere else. On the
good point.
economic front, we had two big reports today. Housing prices are still way up, 7+% year over year. Consumer confidence. Okay, we had the consumer confidence, what's called consumer sentiment, from, I think, University of Michigan last week. We have consumer confidence today, and interestingly, they didn't mesh very well. Now, we had the consumer sentiment was down, where the consumer confidence was slightly up. So that was kind of bizarre, but both of them were still very concerned about inflation. And Truflation, which I'm not exactly excited these days about their numbers, but the trends are interesting to watch, at least. And their trend has been inflation going like this for the last couple of weeks. We're seeing some other information that might indicate that things are getting a little better on the inflation front, but at least with food and fuel and the ones that people pay attention to, fast foods, and housing, it seems like it's going the wrong way. Since last Tuesday, when we last discussed this, do you have any thoughts about the direction of the economy and where we're going to end up this year as we go into these elections?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think this is a week-to-week thing, right? So
Yeah, I know.
I hold the right to change my opinion with new
Absolutely.
data. But tangent, it always confused me when people called other people like flip-floppers. It's like, isn't that what we want to do? Don't we want to be able to evolve based on new data, new information? Like, what if we were wrong and we learn? Anyways,
Yes, absolutely.
yeah. So what was it? The Case-Shiller report that came out today.
Yep.
And yeah, I was looking at it, seeing the changes. I think so. The chart I saw had from January to or from January of last year to this to April, I think, by the month and the change. And yeah, I mean, prices are slowing down, it seems, as far as increase, but they're still increasing. You know, so when you hear a lot of people say that inflation's coming down, it's like, no, that is intellectually dishonest use of words.
Yes.
Inflation's not coming down, inflation's slowing. The rate of increasing inflation is slowing, right? So we don't have deflation.
No, it's
We still have inflation.
They're calling it disinflation. They had to come up with a new word, I think. Anyway, disinflation.
Yeah. But so I think we are heading in a better place. I do think we are properly restrictive, the way Jerome Powell says, to force the economy to slow down. I don't think we're as strong as the numbers show. I think we all know that. I think the strength we see is on the backs of leverage, whether that's margin, credit card, home loans, jumbo loans, car loans, right? It's on the back of debt. I mean, even our government, right? Our government is, I think, in excess of 2 trillion ARR, in a recurring revenue, right? So they're negative 2 trillion. They're bringing in 5 trillion, spending 7 trillion. That's not good. So, and then on top of that, if you really go through the fun of understanding this, you start to realize that the government can't not have inflation because we will never pay back our debt. The only thing we can do is grow the economy to the point where the debt feels like nothing. Right. So in other words, remember when, whenever it was in your life, $100 felt like a lot of money.
Yeah.
And now $100 is like nothing. That effect, right? So you had $100 in debt. There's a point or a time where that was a lot of money, or $1,000 debt. I was like, oh man, it's a lot of money. Now it's, the dollar has just, devalued so much, and we've printed so many that it's just it's irrelevant.
Yeah.
So I think inflation's going to stick around. We want it to stick around. We need it to stick around. It's not going to get out of control. I think we'll stay on a steady course. The stock market's going to keep running because just because the economy is slowing down doesn't mean the stock market has to slow down. And I think we're just going to do this up until the election, and then the election will happen, and some people will be happy, some people will be sad. And the truth is, it probably won't make a big difference from an economy perspective. The only thing that's really going to make a difference is if government stops spending.
Yes. Yes. So, if we could get Javier to come over and help us out, maybe can we put a foreign CEO, foreign prime minister on the cabinet of the U.S. government? I don't know.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing, right? It's tough because there are certain people that want to see entitlement cut. There's certain people that want to see defense cut. There are certain people that want to see whatever else cut. And truth is, it all needs to get cut. Like it all needs to take a haircut.
I'd be perfectly happy. I certainly want some of those things cut. I've got a whole bunch of cabinet departments I think they can completely eliminate. But I'd be happy if the first step was just to cut 10% of every department and then have a hiring freeze for a year. Take the Elon Musk or the Javier Milei approach and just take an axe. Just swing the axe.
Or just take the approach of any healthy company, right? Most companies lay off about 5% a year of their bottom performers, but we don't really see that in government.
No.
Government just gets bigger and more bloated. So yeah, you need to trim fat. And the first place to do it is government employees and government, agencies and bureaucracy and cabinets and whatever other terms that they have internally. These committees that get assembled and we hire these experts and there needs to be some rigor in it. Like one of the other things is like take the military, for example. In the military, each year it's this whole, if you don't spend it, you lose it.
Right.
And then whatever you don't spend, well, that hits your budget for the next year. So it just incentivizes you to spend more money or spend all of it, even if you don't need it. But we're incentivizing them to not be efficient.
Yes,
It's very backwards.
That's been going on for a very, very, very long time. So apparently then maybe you don't think that I'm right when I say that we're going to see a 10% correction in the near term.
Depends on what you're talking about.
Just just the indexes are just stretched. We're at 22% of forward PE. That seems a little stretched to me. And we've been going up like this for a very long time. So usually there's going to be a point at which everybody goes, oh, I think I should trim that a bit.
Yeah, I mean, it's possible. I think we see 1 or 2 10% corrections every year, historically, something like that. We see several 5% corrections. Yeah, it's possible. I mean, I don't not think that, but I do think across the board, stocks will be higher by the end of the year. So, what's 10% over the next 3 months? Who cares?
That is historically, you're in very solid territory because if you get the January up and the first quarter up, I don't know, 80% of the time, the end of the year is up. And then it's really strong if you have a change in government. So that would be something to look forward to anyway.
Yeah.
So, all right, let's take a look where the markets are real quick here. You've got a few minutes left, I think. Let's see.
Yeah. I got plenty of time.
Okay, so we got Tesla down 249 today and falling another 64 cents after hours. I actually thought that was not too bad a day for Tesla, given kind of the day it was, with Nvidia sucking all the air out of the room. And I'm guessing a bunch of that downward effort on Tesla was because of people taking a few bucks out of their Tesla and throwing it at Nvidia, selling high and buying low.
Here's
selling low and buying high. Yes.
Yeah. Here's a prediction for you on your 10% front. Over the next 2 months, Nvidia will go down 10%.
At least, yes.
I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, I'm not doing anything. Like, part of me has thought about buying a put. Just because it's ran so much. Yeah. But I'm not. That's gambling. I don't want to be gambling.
All right, let's see. And then we had the overall market today. The Dow was down 216 and NASDAQ was up 99, basically on the back of Nvidia, and S&P up only 132. The bonds, let's take a look because that is always the big subject. We don't have the rest of the bonds yet because the market hasn't opened for them yet for the pre-market. But the 10-year is up 0.6% in the pre-market at 4.548. So we're back over 4.5 again. Where do you think bonds go from here?
That's a good question. With people like Cacciatore coming out and being hawkish today, that doesn't help. But I don't know. It's hard because this ties back into, what you asked me, about every other week. You ask about the recession, will it not later in the year? And I'm still waiting for the inversion, and the longer it takes, I mean, not saying that just because this has been historically what we see in the trend that it's going to happen again, but it does make you a little, if you're not partly aware of that and partly paranoid that, man, this is a long time, and
23
historically, the longer the
months.
worse.
23 months. I finally found two articles over the weekend on the inversion, and both of them are going, what is going on here? 23 months, longest ever before a recession, 24 months. And I'm still sitting at 3070 recession in the third quarter. Yeah.
What was that recession? Which one was that?
You know what? I didn't go back and look it up. I was just
Okay.
reading the article, so I didn't go back and look at the numbers.
Yeah, because again, my memory's failing me at the moment, but if I recall correctly, it's the longer the inversion, the worse the recession.
Yeah, that would make sense.
So just, it's, and then that, going back to bonds. So I think that bonds will eventually start to crash,
Yeah.
and then it'll be time to refinance.
The rates will come down. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
The rates will come down. The value will go up.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So we got oil back over $80 for Texas Intermediate and Brent at 84.60. Not sure that it's been up several days in a row now. But that is, of course, another inflationary trend. Natural gas has been going crazy up. Another 1 point, I'm sorry, my thing just switched on me. Natural gas, another 1.81 in the pre-market back to 263. I think the high last week was like 275, which is, I don't know, 70% higher than it was 2 months ago. So
Crazy.
that's not good for inflation. On the natural gas side, I think there are limits. I don't think it can go past a certain number because they'll just turn it all on. What I read is that a lot of guys turned off the spigot because it was down there at $1.70 or whatever. But now that it's back up to 250, 270, they can make money. So there's a point at which they turn the spigots on all the way and the price will come back down. Oil is a lot different because we got all the OPEC plus, Russia, all the rest of the people that are in the game making it a geopolitical issue. And it is now heading back up again over the last 3 days, back from 77, back over 80 again.
Well, and with oil, keep in mind, like we don't nationalize our oil here. So
Right.
you have Shell, BP, Exxon, right? The names everybody knows, but then you also have all the little spawn pop oil shops, which there's a bunch of them, right? And the frackers aren't exactly in cahoots with the Gulf of Mexico companies, right? So they might be like, well, we'll keep pumping at $40 a barrel. We don't care.
Yeah.
Right? We're not going to cut, you cut. And it
Right.
becomes this like, well, you do it. I'm not going to do it. You do it. Whereas OPEC can together come up with a strategy.
Right.
So,
yeah. And their strategy seems to be working. I finally came to the conclusion that their strategy really has been to keep the price between 75 and 90. They seem to be accomplishing that one. All right, let's got gold back up today, 23.59, along with silver up strongly at $32 and copper almost back to $5 again, up another 0.13 in the pre-market. It was over $5 last week. Big headline today, I saw gold, silver, and copper, plenty of room to run. Again, not good news for the economy, if that's true.
not good news for Tesla.
Not good news for Tesla. Although steel and aluminum still seem to be okay. But anyway, we've got the dollar staying right in there, kind of not going much over the last few weeks. We've got the Bitcoin down another 1,000 in the pre-market. Well, no, that's right. It just trades all day. It's 24 hours, right?
Yeah.
So it's at 68,536. It's been in a trading range for a very long time now. Any thing that you know of that'll break it out of the trading range?
No. I I'm conflicted with Bitcoin. I believe in its purpose, and I believe in what it seeks to do, the righteousness of it. I don't think that governments are going to adopt it. If anything, I think governments will block it, and I think that becomes, it's going to impede on the progress of it. Sure, ETFs and all that, but that's not the same as a government using it as a standard or a reserve or anything of that nature. And I think that's what it really has to have in the big scheme of things. Now, you'll probably get more ETFs that allow it in, or indexes eventually, or there'll be natural ways where people come in. But I don't know. I don't see. This is why I don't like things like gold or oil or Bitcoin. Is because unlike Tesla, I can't map it to what's next or quarter, or if they do X, Y, Z. That's just like, I hope it works out. I hope there's more demand.
Right. Yes. I actually did a video earlier this morning where I made that same comparison, but in my case, it was Nvidia. I said, I can't tell you. I would have to study it for 1,000 hours, and I'm still not sure that I would fully be able to get my hands around what the Nvidia marketplace looks like 2 years from now, what their moats are, whether they can hold on to their margins. From what I can tell, it's like, yeah, if you want to jump on that rocket and see if you can get a few points out of it, go for it. But long term, I love my chances at Tesla.
Yeah. Just be patient.
Be patient. Yes. All right. Last we got is of course, the equities. A little bit of move. Okay. So the Dow continues down 49 or 0.13%, but the other two, call them, as Bradford, Ferguson, and I now call it unchanged. Okay, it's not really unchanged, but it might as well be close enough unchanged to call it unchanged. So that's where things sit right now. Anything that you're passionate about that we didn't cover today?
It's been a little bit, I think, since you and I talked about this. One of the things I love about talking with you every Tuesday is that I get to hear your point of view every once in a while, rather than just my point of view. I already know my point of view. So Randy, for like these last couple of minutes, walk me through real quick how you see the rest of the year playing out on two fronts. One, on TSLA, and then two, on your current perception for inflation, rate cuts, and all
that. Okay, so for Tesla, I continue to believe that it's all about 2026, that everything will be in position in 2026. In fact, in that same video this morning, I made the claim that by this time next year, we will know. We will know about FSD, we will know about Robotaxi, and we will know about Optimus. Those three things will be known facts by May of next year. We will know if Robotaxi has been rolled out. We will know how they're doing in terms of production of the cars. We'll know about that new car, whatever it's going to be, or the Robotaxi vehicle. All of that will be known 12 months from now. And the Optimus, probably within that 12-month period also, we will have seen pretty much the final Optimus sellable product that's working in the Tesla factory and maybe has been sent out to a few other factories to test it and get it ready. So I think by this time next year, we're going to know. And if in fact half of it comes true by May of next year, the stock is going crazy. I think that
put a number on that.
Okay. So I think we will know enough of that. I think the street will know enough of that by the end of the year to have the stock. I've been calling it 700 by the end of the year.
This year?
This year. Yeah.
Damn, Randy.
Kind of a 2021 year,
I like the way you think. All right.
Okay. So
this is why I like talking to Randy, because he I'm about to hop on a flight, and only Randy can make me this excited.
So it's
just real quick, because I know a lot of people will probably be down in the comments saying, "Oh, you're crazy. Oh, you're so optimistic." don't forget that this has happened before.
Yes.
And if what's happened in the past being just a couple of years ago, happened now, we wouldn't be talking about 700. We'd probably be talking about like 2000.
Right.
So 700. I know that seems like crazy right now, but it's not like it hasn't happened just recently. So
So
just to defend you in the comments before people
right,
start.
right. So the 400 number that we had 2.5 years ago, that 400 number basically was based on what people were expecting from Robotaxi. It was really all about FSD and Robotaxi. People were basically buying the option for that to happen. People believed it was imminent. It was going to happen anytime. When that went away, slowly but surely, the stock came down because that option became worth less. Well, my point is, I think that by the end of the year, that option will be back in play. Only you're talking about a company that's twice as large, twice as profitable it was at the time. So that's why my 700. Plus, you've now got the additional option on the Optimus.
Optimus.
All right.
I
So
like the way you think.
that's how I come to 700. Okay. With regard to the economy and all of that, I'm looking at inflation to stay almost, I think we're going to agree on this one. I think if inflation is going to stay about where it is. And because of that, the Fed is not going to be able to cut rates at all this year. I don't consider the rates to be high. I don't consider them to be that restrictive. And I think companies and people will start to work around those rates. Unfortunately, I also believe that people are stretched and they can't be stretched anymore. And so they're not going to be able, they're going to have to put their hands in their pockets and say, I can't spend this money. And they're already talking about cutting back on fast foods. They're talking about, cutting back on groceries. They're talking about going down scale from the branded products down to the unbranded products, going from shopping at Ralph's to shopping at Costco. Interesting, Costco's earnings come out this week. I'm very interested to see what they say in the call about what their consumer is doing at Costco, because that's a slightly more upscale consumer. I'm interested in what they're saying. Larry and I have been talking about this for a week now. I think we're now in a very much of a two economy world. There's the lower 50% and the upper 50%. The upper 50% they're not worried at all. They're spending, they're having a fun time. They're going on trips. They're doing what they need to. They're not really concerned at all. The lower 50%, they're scratching, and they've spent all the money from COVID, and they're now like, oh my gosh, how do I even budget when I don't have that extra money coming in? So I think we're in a two economy world, and that is probably why we're seeing the working class much more anxious and much more interested in a change in government than even the so-called professional class.
Yeah, I would even tend to throw a third category in there because you're right. There's the people who are solid, maybe good income, have their assets, and then there's, to your point, that lower 50%, right? And so for the lower 50%, this is can't go to sleep, stressed out over that insurance bill, auto insurance bill that just doubled, right? The upper 50, like you're mentioning, it's more of an inconvenience, an annoyance.
Yeah.
Maybe you tip a little differently. Maybe to your point, like, all right, whatever, we're at the grocery store, I'll get this off brand, but it's just an inconvenience. It's not going to stop you from living your day-to-day life. But I would also say that there's a third group, which is people, this is mainly, I would say, in Silicon Valley world, people who are getting laid off, who are used to be high earners, who are struggling to find other jobs that will have that same high earning potential, and they're kind of in this weird spot. So I would say that's a very small fraction, the big scheme of things, but it does exist, and I do see it. I'm in the world, so I see it.
Yeah.
But I love what you said. It's almost as if keeping these rates where they're at is forcing the populace in the United States to kind of take some medicine that they need. And it's almost like you don't want to see that rate cut just so that we can let that give that medicine time to work and not be something that we just, bridge until rates come down, that we go back to doing all the bad habits. We don't want to just be a diet. We need a lifestyle change, eat healthier. Unfortunately, that medicine doesn't have the same benefits or effect on government.
Right.
Unfortunately.
Right.
But it does on the people.
Yeah, and then the last thing I want to say is my optimism, of course, takes completely over. I believe that the productivity increases that will probably start to really start hit next year, maybe mid next year. The productivity increases that hit the economy across the world actually will be amazing, and it'll be the last half of this decade will be incredible.
Yeah, I fully agree. I think honestly, the longer we have these high rates, the longer we feel this, you know, everything's good, but yeah, everybody feels bad kind of environment. The longer that is, the longer of good times we're gonna have. So, there is definitely a silver lining to all this. But yeah, so that I'm probably gonna have to go hop on my flight. But
Yeah,
before I
no,
go, for anyone who's still listening, uh, go listen to Randy's interview with Brian because I'm gonna download it so I can listen to it on my flight.
there you
So
go. All right. Okay. Good deal. Okay. Okay, guys. Nicholas, great to have you on Tuesdays. Enjoy your flight to Atlanta. Don't do anything I wouldn't do in Atlanta. And then
that's a
so,
wide array of things I can do, apparently.
so many cool things in Atlanta. All right. It's been great talking to you and great talking to the audience as well. All right. Talk to you next time.